So we wake up this morning in Germany, having arrived late last night after the day's travel from Calais, Belgium, Switzerland, Luxembourg, and finally in Germany. So today's drive is going to take us from, I'm in Germany, which is right on the border of Basel, Switzerland, and we're going to Interlaken, which is approximately 150 kilometers, so just about an hour and a half's drive. But we pass through Basel city centre, so naturally we wanted to stop off there and sample some of the culture. And what a beautiful city it is indeed. So naturally, once again, we select the drive assist. We tell IDA that we're looking for a parking space, the voice assistant, so it sets the coordinates in the city centre to find us a parking spot, and then we use the drive assist to help take us there whilst being able to focus on the sat-nav to make the right turns. Once again, in a strange country, drive on the other side of the road, and this time we had to contend with trams as well, which do have right of way. So you have to keep an eye out for trams. So the drive assist, absolutely vital here, just to allow you to be fully focused on the road and what's happening and make sure you're in the right direction. And once again, safe, sticking to the speed limits because the car already knows, and keeping a safe distance from the vehicles in front to avoid any collisions. A very large tram network in Basel. So I would have probably preferred to have taken the tram around the city rather than drive, but fascinating nonetheless. So after being on the road for most of the day and night the previous day, it was great to sample and take in some city culture. Basel city centre doesn't disappoint with some beautiful heritage, buildings and history as well to research. Basel has over 800 years of medieval heritage and cutting-edge art and unexpected trivia. It has the highest density of museums in Switzerland, making it a surprising global heavyweight for art and innovation. So after a morning visit to Basel, it's back on the road and we're off to Interlaken using the motorway. Drive assist once again to help out, let the car do all the work. So I've personally never been to Interlaken before, but we chose this place because it has a reputation for being beautiful and right next to the Alps. This was a really interesting charging spot because what I noticed in the parts of Switzerland that we were travelling in, that the motorway services didn't have charging facilities there. They have their own, so you look out for the sign or you can use the vehicle's charging guide, and literally you just pull over and there's charging stops there, refreshments, toilets, everything you'd expect to find in a services, but it's purely just for charging your car. And there was plenty of them en route too, so perhaps we might see them in the UK outside of services. I think in the UK, every service station tends to have really good charging facilities, but perhaps there's an opportunity to have just pullovers where you can charge your cars whilst on the motorway without having to go to a service station, because that certainly was the case in Switzerland. So fully charged up here, and relatively short distance to make, which is, as we said, just over an hour and a half. But we've got the Alps in view here. It doesn't come across too great on the camera, but I can assure you, driving on a motorway with the Swiss Alps in front of you with snow on top is absolutely breathtaking. And we'll see as we get closer to Interlaken, because that's where we're heading, to these mountains in front. So from a driving perspective here, we're using the drive assist, and then a quick movement of the indicator to the left moves us out into the left-hand lane and then back again to the right, all automatic as part of the ADAS. You can see we're getting closer to the Alps here now, which was an absolute pleasure to drive in. Even though the car's doing the driving, it was just great really to stay alert, take in the scenery and supervise to make sure that the ADAS is doing everything that it should do. noticed the speed limits were a little bit lower in this part of Switzerland, because we've seen up to 130 kilometers as a speed limit, which is faster than the UK at 80 miles per hour, whereas most of them were 90 to 100, 110 maximum really. But because the scenery is so nice, then why would you want to rush? On the way to Interlaken, you pass through a number of ski resorts, which give you a real feel of the area. I would imagine this was May, June that we were travelling through, so I would imagine in the winter months then this will be full of people who are staying here to ski in the Alps. A beautiful place indeed, and a pleasure to pass through. This is Brenzesee Lake on the left, which is one of the famous lakes in Interlaken. There's two lakes at the foot of the mountains in the Alps. This is one of them. Absolutely breathtaking to drive past, and we just had to pull over and stop and take a closer look. This lake is famous because of its clean water, purity. The water originates straight from glacial melt and mountain streams and is very cold but extremely clean, which means the lake actually has fewer fish than the warmer lakes around Switzerland. And at its deepest point, it's 250 meters deep. I was extremely hot, I can tell you, at this moment from traveling for most of the afternoon. So I was so tempted to dive into this lake, but perhaps not realizing exactly how cold it was. But so stunning to look at, and really pleased that we stopped to have a closer look at such an amazing scenery. Then the heavens opened just as we were about to leave, which was quite refreshing actually, because the temperature was really warm, so wasn't too bothered about this heavy rainfall. Interlaken gets its name really as it's a place that sits between two lakes, which is Lake Breeze, as we've just seen, and Lake Thun. And a magical place. We visited here, which was right next to a hotel where this pond was full of koi carp and stunning to look at. And the kids really enjoyed it. We were visiting here to take in the beauty of Interlaken, but also there's a cable car ride that takes you right up into the mountains, so we were heading that way here. The lake's turquoise colour is quite mesmerising, and it's caused by tiny particles of pulverised rock flour suspended in the water, which scatter the sunlight and create a glowing, brilliant blue-green shade. Stunning to look at. Then it was up in the cable car to take in the views, and as you can see here, they are amazing. Great view of the Alps, and I'm I'm sure we'll get a great view of the two lakes as we climb. At the top of the cable car ride, you get amazing views that go on for miles and miles, where you can see both lakes and their glorious colours. And directly ahead, you get the snow-capped giants of Eiger, Monk and Jungfrau. So we just had to stop by here and have some refreshments and food and take in the amazing views, as it felt like you were in the clouds. This restaurant is called Harder Kulm Panorama Restaurant, and it's known for its large outdoor terrace where you can enjoy traditional Swiss alpine dishes like rotzi and fondue whilst taking in the views. Paragliding is a huge sport here, and many people come here especially just for this. This particular one, you felt like you could actually touch the people. We were that high, and tourists can go up with a professional paraglider and take in all the views and the sights, which was, I think, a bit too hair-raising for us, but look, bags of fun and great to look at. Then it was back on the road again for the final leg of this day, which was a relatively short journey, about 56 kilometers to Bern, Switzerland. This is where we were going to stay for the night, getting ready for the large drive to the south of France the following day. And what an amazing place this was. This is the hotel area where we were staying, which gave us a chance to reflect and unwind on what had been an amazing day. And here's some pictures to show. This was the hotel in Germany, B&B. Only fairly small, but really friendly, very economical, and did the job, as this was the place to stay after the day's travel across Europe. Here's some pictures of Basel city centre. So relatively short journey, 56 kilometers, roughly about an hour, from Interlaken to Bern city centre in Switzerland, where we'll be staying the night, reflect on today and get ready for tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was certainly great putting it together, and join us for the next edition, which will be the trip from Bern, Switzerland to the south of France via Geneva.